All right, YouTube. Repo Man 64. Can hardly wait to get into heaven, get some more hair. It's coming very soon. A lot of people are working on a lot of different formulas to present a high watch day. Well, most of us aren't saying that it is going to happen on this day, but we're seeing mathematical similitudes leading towards a specific day. I found another 1111 event that I want to show you um, as to when the next high watch day is for me. Now, there's a lot of people looking at, well, they were looking at today because today in 1950, Israel enacted the law of return. Uh, so a lot we're looking at today. Today is almost over. Could it still happen? Yes, it could happen. It'll be bam that quick, and we'll be standing in heaven. Others, I think, are looking at the 6th and 7th. I think they're using the moon. Of course, the moon plays no role whatsoever in any mathematical equations that I use. That's just a personal preference. I don't think that, I've said it 100 times, the moon has no bearing on when the year starts or when a month starts. The sun comes up, you give it a day. I've even heard them try to equate the moon to it's the 8th day, it's the 16th day. I don't even know how they're doing the math, but look, when the Bible will do something like make a statement that he rose on the first day, and then on the self same day, he meets Thomas in the upper room. He rose what we call as Sunday. He rose on a Sunday, and when did he meet Thomas in the upper room? 8 days later. However, if it's that's called inclusive. If it is exclusive, you would say it's Sunday, and tomorrow I will count as the first day being Monday, and you'd have 7 days. So on the timeline, I run into that quite a bit where it depends on what time of day the event took place. Jesus was born on the 29th at nightfall, which means it became the 30th on September 30th on my timeline. 8 days later, Jesus was circumcised and named on October the 8th, October the 7th at nightfall. What did we see on October the 7th? We saw that Israel was invaded. John the Baptist was born, if you do the math, and how long Elizabeth was pregnant for, 6 months. Wasn't the 6th month. She hid herself for 5 months, and then the 6th month, Mary went to see him, to see her cousin, and John the Baptist leapt in the womb. 3 months after that, because she was 6 months pregnant, Jesus was newly formed in the womb, and as a matter of fact, it takes 7 days for the egg to travel down the tube and attach to the uterine wall. It does that 7 days. So we know that 7 days later, and that's when the pregnancy takes. A lot of women will lose the child because the baby will begin to develop in the tube, and they have to go in and remove it because it's life threatening to the mother. This is this happens. It happens because bad things happen in this world that we live in. So, John the Baptist, when was he born? He was born on the same day Jesus went to the cross. What happened 8 days later after Jesus went to the cross? Well, we saw a eclipse on April the 8th. It marks John the Baptist being circumcised and named on the 8th day. All of the things are lining up perfectly. Now, I found something mathematical which will point to an event that I just want to present to you and for all of us to take a look at. That it might be a high watch day coming up. My next high watch day is July 16th. This is the first of all. I believe this is the day Moses came down and threw down the tablets. I don't think God, in his own law, would marry us until he divorced Israel. When did he divorce Israel? Did he divorce Israel? 2 seconds. Remember, Moses goes up there. He's covered in a veil for 7 days, and then he's with God for 40 days. They're up there, they're having a good time, they're high-fiving. Moses hides in the cleft of a rock and sees the ankles of God. It turns him completely white and his eyes shine, and they're having a good old time up there, and God says, you need to get back down because they've gone astray already. They've already cheated on me. They've already committed adultery. They've created a golden calf. Moses comes down at the end of 40 days. He meets, and I'm going to forget the name of the person he meets. Joshua? Is it Joshua? On the way down, and Joshua, it sounds like there's a war going on down there. No, it's not a war. They're partying, and it's gotten out of hand because they built the calf, golden calf. He comes down there. He's so upset. God doesn't tell him to throw down the tablets, but he divorces God. Israel is divorced from God at that moment that he throws down the tablets. This is the first of all. This, on my timeline, will be July 16th. So let's take a look at some math that really kind of is cool how it lines up. All right. Here on the timeline, I want you to remember that Jesus, right here, has a meal with Lazarus, Mary, and Martha. He cannot have this meal with, and I want to say this. Somebody called me out in Discord, which I really enjoy when that happens. And it stops me and makes me think. And they said, well, you say Jesus cannot perform the wave sheaf offering because he is unclean for being in a cemetery. How is it that Lazarus, also being in a cemetery, 4 days later, after he is resurrected on Nisan 4, 4 days later, he has this meal with, Jesus has this meal with with Lazarus, Mary, and Martha. The Bible records that that event took place 6 days prior to the cross. And I thought about it. And the only way I can answer that, and I said, you might have caught me on something here. And that's what I will always do is go to the Bible. But I went back and read Leviticus. This is for the Levites. They are unclean. They cannot perform any ceremony in the, got a hair on this thing. Hold on. Sorry about that. They cannot perform the wave sheaf offering if they've been near a grave site. So therefore they would have been unclean. Jesus could not perform the wave sheaf offering based on his own laws that he created over here. So that's why it is the week of unleavened bread. Jesus goes to heaven on Nisan 17. He stays up there for 7 days. He returns. At the end of the 7 days, he waits because he is the high priest. He makes the wave sheaf offering on behalf of all of us sinners down here and comes back that afternoon. The Bible records that he comes back that afternoon to Thomas in the upper room, hangs out with them, and then he disappears. This is the week of no bread. Now, somebody made a comment in the on YouTube, and I'm trying to recall, but it was awesome. And he said that the week of no bread, and then Jesus showing up on the shore on IR 2 on April 17th with loaves of bread and fish. The day they pulled in the 153 fish, there was a reason for that week of no one being able to eat bread. So it just solidified and added to the time, the distances between when Jesus began his 40-day walk. So I see a mathematical similitude here being 3 days in the grave, 7 days, and again, it's 8 days inclusive, but 7 days in between the wave sheaf offering, meeting Thomas back up in the upper room on the self same day on a Sunday, and then 7 days later, self same day on the shore. Remember, the Sabbath ended at nightfall on Saturday. They were out there fishing all night long, and Jesus shows up on the shore with fish and bread. He cannot do that because of his own laws until this 7 day period is ended. When did it end? It ended Saturday night. And that's what I was talking about when it comes to counting. You have to know when the event took place. Did it take place during the daytime? Jesus ascended during the daytime. Did it take place at night, becoming the next day? So then I had those 3 days. I didn't know where those 3 days were. I didn't know what to do with them, but I knew that the day Jesus ascended here, Somebody showed some pretty good proof. Where were they from? Czech Republic. They showed some pretty good proof that Shavuot and Pentecost are not the same. However, the Pentecost count in Leviticus is super clear. It is super clear. It will be counted if the wave sheaf offering did happen on Sunday, which I think it did, and he meets Thomas in the upper room, which I know he did, because the Bible says on the self same day, and Jesus rose on a Sunday, and on the self same day, on the eighth day, he sees Thomas in the upper room, which makes it Sunday, 8 days inclusive. Uh, he performs the wave sheaf offering, and then you count from the Sabbath after. What's the Sabbath after? Well, it's 7 days away, exclusive. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 7 days. And then you count your 49 days. When you do that, you see down here in orange 50 days, and then those 7 days that you must first count before counting your 50 days. Now, that count only exists from the wave sheaf offering. That's the mistake I made. After that, first Pentecost lands on Sivan 21, which I show as June 5th. On this date here is when they will reap barley and plant wheat. Did I do that right? No. Back here they will reap the barley and plant the wheat, and that'll be spring wheat then. And over here, when they reap the wheat, they will plant barley, and then they will both be brought up. Yeah, they will both be brought up on Second Pentecost. Second Pentecost being July 24th or the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av. So that is exactly 50 days after this is fulfilled. This was absolutely fulfilled. All of this was fulfilled by Jesus, including Pentecost. But second Pentecost, the Pentecost that fully comes, will not only be a wheat harvest, a barley harvest, it will also be a wine harvest. Three things will happen on second Pentecost on the 9th of Av. Now back here to Lazarus. We know for a fact, because the Bible is abundantly clear, that 6 days prior to the cross, Jesus is having this meal with Lazarus, Mary, and Martha. You will only find this conversation or this event being written about in John, Mark, and Matthew. You will not find it in Luke. And there is a huge confusion around this meal. Everyone assumes that it's 6 days prior. This one is. With Lazarus, it is. In this one, Mary anoints his feet only, and she wipes it with her hair. But then there's another meal that happens that's a bit more obscure that doesn't give us the when, but it is 5 days. I kept and I searched and I searched because again this overlaps. Everything I find will overlap with something else 6 months from now. God said in Exodus 12, move back 6 months. This now is the head of a year. Rosh Hashanah simply means head of the year. Then he replaced it later on is it later on in Leviticus or Numbers? He replaces that feast that was there because Rosh Hashanah used to be September the 1st. He replaces that once, and he moves it first. He moves Rosh Hashanah first to Nisan 1 from Tishri 1, and then he renames Tishri 1. And he even says it's the seventh month. It cannot qualify to be called Rosh Hashanah because Rosh Hashanah by translation is head of the year. All right. The next, and they confuse it. Even in the Bible, they will show you that all three passages in John, Mark, and Matthew are related. However, they are not. In John, they have the meal here with Lazarus. But in Mark and Matthew, the meal is with Simon, the Pharisee, who was leprous. Jesus was upset because he was there. Nobody offered him food, nobody offered him drink. And the Pharisee was upset because Mary was doing what in both Matthew and Mark? She was anointing his head. This event took place 5 days before the cross. What took place down here 5 days before Jesus is born? Jesus is born on Tabernacles. Jesus is born on September the 30th. September the 30th is exactly 40 weeks from December the 25th. Jesus was conceived on December the 25th. John leapt in the womb on New Year's Day, 7 days later. Jesus was born on September the 30th. Now, at nightfall, the math works out to September the 29th, but at nightfall, it becomes September the 30th. God wants us to know that it is, in fact, if he would have said September the 30th, then we might have gone to October the 1st, but no, the math comes to September the 29th. And what happens 8 days later? He is named and circumcised. What happens 7 days later? Mary has to do a um, ceremony. She is unclean for 40 days. She has given birth to a male child. After 7 days, she will have to perform a ceremony. What happened on October the 7th? Israel was attacked. 33 days later, Mary will be clean. What happened on November the 8th? I think it was 2023 or 2022. This is the day that the blood moon was turned white as it passed perfectly over Uranus. What happened over here when John the Baptist, right up here, John is born. 3 months later, perfectly, what happened on, and I have no event for April the 8th. I kept scratching my head. What is April the 8th? Why is it there? The reason it's there is because this is the day John was circumcised and named. And God is pointing to us by using stellar events to point these things to us. What is our anchor? What's our main anchor to use for everything that we're doing? It's the Revelation 12 sign. It did not happen September 23rd. You can go look for yourself. It happened on September the 24th at nightfall. September the 24th at nightfall on 2017. I think that, and what happened on September the 24th at nightfall, Jesus is born. It's the Day of Atonement. The Revelation 12 sign landed on the Day of Atonement. No, it doesn't move every year. The day that it happened doesn't move ever. You can use the 2022 Gregorian calendar to see that. No, the Gregorian calendar mixes up the days every year. If you were born in 2020, if you look at your birthday in 2022 and look at the day it was, that's the day you were actually born. I know if you were born in a different, because the calendar is only accurate every 19 years. Fall is accurate every 19 years, spring is accurate every 19 years. So we have something I want to show you. Moses stood at the gate of the camp and said, "Who?" Now this is where he's thrown down the tablets. He's seen the golden calf. He is upset. He is angry. He has, when you don't go to heaven, if that should happen, it will be because you made a clear choice. God is salvation. He filled that cup. He made the cup. He filled the cup. He handed you the cup. All you have to do is drink from it. There is no pride in that decision. You can't, yep, I made that decision. I saved myself. You did not save yourself. That cup was offered to you of salvation, and you either drank it or you didn't. When you drink of that cup, that's it. That salvation is in you. You can't get it out. There's nothing you can do to get it out of you. You're saved. Uh, When are you going? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't worked all that out yet. But when are you going as a bride or are you going as a saint? I don't know that quite yet. When that happens, or is everybody that drink the cup go as the bride? I don't know quite yet. I'm still working on that. But what happens here? God cannot marry the Gentile until he divorces the Jew. When did he divorce the Jew? He divorced the Jew when those tablets were thrown down. He married the Jew when he covered Moses in the veil. It says he was covered in a veil for 7 days. This is what happens. The same thing as us. For 7 years, we will be in heaven. We will not be getting married initially. We will be there for 7 years, and then he will compel people to come to our wedding. We are not invited to our own wedding. It's our wedding. We are inviting people to the wedding. So he stands at the gate of the camp. He says, who is, now this is Exodus 32:26. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, "Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me." And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves unto him. Okay. They made a clear decision. There will be nobody in hell going, man, it wasn't quite clear enough. If I had really just known all this stuff, if I had more evidence, maybe I would have chose better. That guy was born in America in a very religious family, while this other guy was born in a Muslim family. How is the choice equal? Oh, it's equal. There are people, Muslim people right now having extremely vivid dreams of Jesus and are becoming saved. God does the saving. We do the warning. You don't think they have internet? They're not seeing these videos? God, and you don't think there's people over there talking about Jesus. They will have made a clear choice not to follow Jesus. There's no, oops, I made a mistake. You made a clear choice, just like here. All right. Let's see, Exodus 32. Let's see, what did I shall make an atonement for your sin. I think I highlighted that because this would be around atonement. All right, now March 26th. On March 26th to July 24th is 121 days. It is 3 months and 29 days, or 4 months. Are there not yet 4 months to the harvest? July 24th. Now, remember, I worked on this, and whoops, right here, whoops. Oh, mathematical similitude right here. 5 days prior, March 25th, that's that extra day to make the 4th month. What happens exactly 5 days before Jesus goes to the cross? He has this meal where his head is anointed. His head is anointed 5 days. That'll be the end of grace. 5 days before Jesus goes to the cross. In the Pharisee Simon's house, who had leprosy, where they offered him no food. Okay? Now let's go down here. I forgot to mention this. Jesus began his fast. On this same day, Moses began his fast. Moses was a picture of Jesus. Of course, he failed, and Jesus did not. Jesus began fasting and being tempted of the devil, the Bible records, for 40 days. And when does that end? It ends on the Day of Atonement, the Revelation 12 sign. The nightfall of September the 24th in Israel would have been the September the 25th. And that happens 5 days before he is born. 5 days before he is born, Day of Atonement. 5 days before he's born. Oh, and by the way, 182 days from September the 30th or Tishri 15, you come back, it's Nisan 14, March 30th. Exactly, perfectly 6 months. An event takes place 5 days before the cross. Jesus is tempted by the devil for 40 days. And on Yom Kippur, Revelation 12 sign, he begins he begins his ministry, which the Bible records that he is about 30. It's actually 5 days before his birthday. His birthday being on Tishri 15, September 30th. All right, let me go back to where I was. Okay, now again, that would be March 25th. Because I just realized that I needed to put that on the timeline. Going to July 24th will be 4 months. Are there not yet 4 months until the harvest? Yay, I tell you, the harvest is ready already. So 4 months, July 24th. July 24th is coming up. July 24th is Tisha B'Av. July 16th is the day Moses threw down the tablets. Let me go back to that real quick and show you right here. July 16th, the first of Av, Moses breaks the tablets. 10 days later, or 9 days exclusive, 10 days inclusive, is the second Pentecost. The wheat, barley, and wine harvest is going to happen on July 24th, the 9th of Av. And then Tu B'Av happens on Av 15, which is July 31st. All right, let me go back to this. Okay, we know in John, Jesus has this meal find this in John 12:1. Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. He was raised 4 days prior to this meal. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. His feet are being anointed here. You see up at the top there where it references Matthew and Mark? They have made a mistake. This is not the same day. In the next two passages I'm going to show you, there is no day count to the cross, like it says here, 6 days prior to the Passover, and his head is anointed. And here he's being fed and taken care of and given drink. They made him supper, and Martha served. He got treated with royalty here. But here, and being in Bethany in the house of Simon. Now it's the next day. It's 5 days before the cross. He, remember, 4 days before the cross is the triumphant entry. 5 days before the cross, this is not associated with this. Here we see a stark contrast to what we read previously. And being in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, he sat at meat. There came a woman having an alabaster box of ointment of spikenard, very precious, and she brake the box and poured it on his head. It was poured on his head. Okay? And if we read down further, you will see, let's see, waste, verily I send you a gospel preached throughout the world. You'll read either in this one or the next one, he will say that he offered him no food or drink. Okay, now here in Matthew 26:6, now when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, now you see that Matthew and Mark are associated. John is not. It's a different day. This is 5 days prior to the cross. Now, when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head, as he sat to meat. And when his disciples saw, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For the ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. It's the same conversation happening, but in John, his feet are anointed. Here in, excuse me, wow. I usually sneeze a lot more than once, so hang in there. It's going to happen again. For this anointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. Sorry. Given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he gave them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath brought a good work unto me. For ye have not the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. All right, is that the end of it? That's the end of it. Okay. Anyway, uh, I forgot to do the math. Maybe I can do the math real quick. Let's see what happens when we add, what was the date on that again? Let's see what happens when we add 91 days to March 25th. Did I do that already? Oh, I did that already. That was this. Okay. I confused myself. Yeah, March 25th. Halfway through between March 25th and 5 days when he finished his 40 days of temptation by Satan, on the Day of Atonement, on the same anniversary day as the Revelation 12 sign, on that exact day, but 4 months after the day that his head was anointed, 5 days prior to the cross, here on March 25th, technically, to July 24th is 4 months. That's halfway through. March 26th to September. Let's see, what date was that? 5 days prior when he finished with the devil, September 25th, the Day of Atonement. At nightfall on the 24th is when we saw the Revelation 12 sign. So hang in there. Keep watching. Like I said before, we are in the 2023 Jubilee right now. This Jubilee does not end until September 15th. I think personally that unless those days be shortened, has to do with in a Jubilee year, the year prior, 2022, would have actually had an extra 10 days. But the year of the Jubilee, the days will be shortened to 354 days. It'll be shortened 10 days because the year doesn't start here till September the 25th, the day of the Revelation 12 sign, or 24th, Yom Kippur. And when you count the beginning of the year there and you go all the way around the year, right now it's 2024, but we are still in the 2023 Jubilee. The shortening of the days, for me, the outside date that the rapture should occur, but I shouldn't say must because God knows all. I'm trying to figure it out. But September the 15th would be for me the day shortened because this year would be 2022 would have an extra 10 days, and 2023 Jubilee would cause us to come into 2024 being shortened 10 days. So when God says, "Except those days be shortened," I think that he's winking at us and telling us, "Hey, pay attention. How do I shorten a day?" Yeah, there's a lot of theories out there about the Earth's going to go faster, the Moon's going to do this, and all this different stuff's going to happen. And a day's, and I know that in Revelation it does talk about the days going faster, but I'm saying, as far as for the sake of the very elect, we're elect. So are the tribulation saints. So are the Jews. As each group accepts Jesus and who He is, they will be saved and taken in, right? So the days shortened does apply to the 2023 Jubilee and again to the 2030 Jubilee. There is a Jubilee that overlaps by 7 years because we start the first Jubilee from creation. We start the next Jubilee from, and they both start in September, by the way. Trumpets. It was called Atonement. I'm sorry, it was called Rosh Hashanah prior to God changing in Exodus 12 to Moses. But 7 years, I'm sorry, each 50 years from creation and then from Adam's fall. Adam was in the garden for 7 years, 1 month, and 17 days. The Bible does, a Jubilee says this. And since the Bible references Jubilees, it's a good book to get into for further information. And the Bible does speak about, and I saw a teaching on it where somebody said it appears as though there are two jubilees running in tandem, and it dawned on me, oh, one is from creation, one is from the fall of Adam. Both are counting, and one ends here in 2024. It's the 2023 jubilee, and another one begins in 2030 in September, the 25th, because it's 10 days late, and the days are shortened in that year of 2031. So when we say Jesus did go to the cross in 2030, but the year of falls in 2031. Why? Because they don't know when to change the year. they they do it in September, they do it in March. I have calendars that show that it's in March and then it's in September, and no, it doesn't ever change. The Revelation 12 sign happened on September the 24th on the Day of Atonement, and the anniversary of that will always be on the Day of Atonement every single year on September the 24th. If you try to jump around with the moon, I don't even know how they count that. I've seen somebody try to count it by saying it's the 8th, it's the 15th, and I'm just like, creation was super simple. He worked 6 days, and then on the seventh day, he uh, he rested. That's it. That's all. If you count from Sunday, like he shows us very clearly, he shows us super clearly in when referring to meeting Thomas in the upper room. He says he rises on the first day, and on the self same day, 8 days later. Does that mean that there are? Does that mean it became Monday? No, it was Sunday when he rose, and Sunday when he saw him in the upper room. It's 8 days inclusive, 7 days exclusive. If you want to, if you say, well, he rose on Sunday, tomorrow's Monday, that's day one. Or if you want to say, today's Sunday, and it counts to Sunday, 8 days. That's the difference between it. The Bible does a lot of that, so you have to be real careful about what you're reading in order to land on the right day. So, quick video, short video. a blast from the past, somebody that a watcher that I love very much and respect very much, reached out to me. So I'm in a really good mood today. Talked with him for a while, and so that was good. That was good news. I'm glad he popped up. So anyway, Repo Man 64, like, comment, share, and subscribe. July 16th, July 24th, July 31st, all of them Sundays. It better be lined up. So I have to look. All of them Sundays. Of course, you have to use the 2022 calendar for that to line up. You know you're on the right calendar when September the 11th, first day of creation, is a Sunday. You know you're on the right calendar when March 30th is a Wednesday. Um, the and that's 2022. So I I present that to you. Come into the Discord. I'll leave a link for the Discord. A lot of wonderful math going on in there. People who are completely disagree with my timeline. Great. As long as you're searching and coming up with the next high watch day, saying, this could be it because of this mathematical equation, I'm all about it. I desperate to learn. And if you find something that contradicts what I think is correct, I got a show. What is his YouTube? I went and made a comment. I don't do this very often, but he made a like a 2.5 hour video. Shofar. I forgot the name of his YouTube. I'll have to bring it up. He's invited me to. He is using the full moon. Others are using the sliver of the moon. And I put a comment in there. How about it's no moon? Has no moon. And I said you can go into every single translation in the Bible where it says David hid himself until the new moon. It's Chodesh, not moon. Chodesh does not. Why? If moon is Yarich and Selene, why does the Bible never mix them up? Then it says the baby was young and beautiful, and he was hidden for 3 Yarich, 3 moons. Everybody says, well, that's 3 months because its moon is a month. That baby was hidden for 3 days. I'm going to go back and restudy that, but that baby was hidden for 3 days, not 3 months. 3 moons, which means 3 days. So um, there's a there every time somebody brings me something and I actually go in and study it, I can always prove that the moon had no say so in it. So yes, I would love to go onto your YouTube channel and discuss this. And every single passage you come up with, you find me one that says Yarich or Selene means month, and find me one where the Bible accidentally, and this, I mean, mathematically, he's very mathematical, and mathematically, you would think that the Jews would have made a mistake if they were intentionally trying to hide the fact that the moon had no play whatsoever in the times were. Why didn't they accidentally mistranslate David hid in a field until the new month, the Chodesh, and he hid in that field for 3 days? Oh, that's got to mean the moon. That, yes, it translates the moon, right? Well, remember, they were deceived by King Antiochus in 400 BC, and they were forced to use the moon calendar. The worship of the moon has been going on for a long time, and the argument between sliver moon and full moon has been going on for a long time. But here in the last days it shall speak. The moon plays no part. I can stand behind that. Nobody in this past 2 years I've been saying this has ever brought me a verse, proof positive, that it says, if it would have said Yarich and David hid out in the field until the new Yarich, the new moon, or the new Selene, the new moon, I would have had to shut up and say, you know what, you found something, because I will. I will stop myself and back up and recheck and see where I went wrong. But inevitably, 100% of the time, David hid himself out in the field until the new Chodesh, the new month. It is not moon. If it were moon, it would have been translated. And there, with a crown of 12 stars, and bathed in the sun, and the moon under her feet. Do you think it accidentally translated it as Chodesh? No, it always translates it as Yarich or Selene under her feet because that's actually talking about the moon. So you can go into Google and Google that, and there are some deep, deep discussions on this, and I have researched so many of them, and they all come down to the same conclusion that it is wrong to state that Chodesh has anything to do with the moon. So I would love to argue that in a nice way. I would love to discuss that with. Is it Shofars of God? He's a really eloquent guy. He's very bright, very intelligent. Um, I'm a bit rougher on the edges, so it will be interesting. I'm just going to make him prove it. You just proved to me that that word that is used is saline or yarich. Once it says saline or yarich, I will have to look at the verse and try to understand why the woman hid that kindly, beautiful baby for 3 moons, because it does say yarich. Oh, she hid the baby for 3 months, 3 moons, 3 days, 3 nights. She hid the baby 3 nights, not 3 months. So anyway, Repo Man 64, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody except the Lord into your heart. The funny thing is, as we all, it's not bickering, we disagree. A lot of us disagree on a lot of things. Um, the beautiful thing is, as we do this and we go back and forth and study, we are becoming more intimate with the Word of God. The Word became flesh. You are holding Jesus in your hands. When you read the Bible, you are holding Almighty God. No, you're not possessing Him in any kind of way. I'm not saying that, but that's the mind. That's every word that He had to say to us, that He wanted us to know, that we read. And the deeper you go into it, Chuck Missler went so deep at every 47th letter from Genesis to Leviticus, and then the other way back. All of them spell out Jesus's name, except in Deuteronomy, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. That is intimacy, and that's what I'm talking about. Get deeper into the Bible, figure out what it's really saying, not what you want it to say. Figure out what I don't want it to say no moon. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care if it's moon. I didn't approach this saying I'm going to prove that. I didn't care. All I asked God for was, when is the head of the year? That's all I asked for, and I think He told me a lot. I think He told me a lot, and I think it's accurate what I have. But again, it's the research, it's the intimacy, it's the searching, it's the wanting to know. It's not about what you know, it's about the wanting to know. It's a bride talking to her, a new couple, and they're trying to learn each other and figure each other out. The first little spat happens. You just go back and forth until now. I've been with my wife for 20 years. She knows me. She knows when I'm sick just by how I look. She knows when I'm not feeling well. She knows when I'm hungry. She knows because we've been together for so long. I wouldn't trade that for $1 million, $10 million. I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. She knows me, and I know her. All I have to do is look at her, and I know that she wants something or needs something. I will walk into a room. I will walk into a room with a plate of food in my hand, getting ready to eat. She's like, "You didn't make me one." I'm like, "This is yours. What, are you kidding me?" And then I hand it to her and I go get myself another plate. She's like, "No, you didn't make that for me." I'm like, "Of course I did. What, you think I would come in here and eat in front of you and not offer you a plate first?" I didn't make it for her, but I saved myself. I lied my way out of that. Is that a bad lie? I, I need Jesus every day. I need Jesus to cover my sins every day. So, anyway, yeah, the searching is the intimacy. The learning is the intimacy. They having it all right? No, that's not it. I'm going to make mistakes with my wife as well, but it's the trip on the way to Disney World. It's all the beautiful things that you see on the way there. That's what I'm trying to relay here. Is we got to stop. And most in my Discord and in my YouTube, I don't see a lot. I see it every now and again. When are you going to give up on setting dates? I don't set dates. I've never set a date. I said, look, this is the mathematical right here. This lines up. Maybe that is. Do I know when to assign the rapture to a date? The answer is no, I don't. But look at this date. Does it make sense that Moses comes down, throws the tablets down, God divorces Israel, and marries us, the bride? Does it make sense that that happened? Yes, that does. It's something to look at, right? Does it make sense on the ninth of Av, every temple, the two previous temples were destroyed and taken away from Israel on the ninth of Av? I show that as July 24th. Does that make sense to be a high rapture watch day? Yes, it does. Am I saying the rapture is going to happen on that day? Any of you that says that I say that is just straight lying. I don't know how else to tell you. I don't never set rapture dates, but I do set high watch dates, something to look at, something to be aware of. Could the rapture occur right now? Yes. Could a rapture happen on a date that's not on my timeline? Of course. Will it happen on the full moon or the sliver moon? Never. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I even heard somebody say the rapture must occur on Sunday, the day Jesus rose. Well, that narrows it down to 52 days a year. I mean, 52 days out of 365, so 300 something days we don't have to watch. We only need to perk up on Sundays. I don't believe that either. It could happen at any moment. It could happen right now, So pay attention, wake up, keep looking up, and please read your Bibles and keep studying. And if I said something, go in and prove that the moon, when it's actually talking about the moon, just go do a search study. Just go study that. I would love to see like that person in my Discord. Lazarus was in a grave, and yet you said, and I'm like, and I had to respond. I was like, wow, you're right. Hold on a second. Let me think about this. What could this possibly? And I absolutely love that. That's what I want. I want challenging, intellectual, Shofar of God. I think that's his YouTube channel, Shofar of God. That might be it. Very eloquent. I want, I want to be challenged. You know that he's offering $1,000. He offered me. He says, if you can prove to me that I'm wrong about the full moon, I'll give you 1,000. I says, well, I've had my YouTube for 5 years and I've never accepted not one penny. No VR glasses, no ancient Bibles, nothing. I've gotten zero from anybody. If you get one penny, you might as well take a million because there's no difference. You can't say I don't take anything except for these VR glasses. You can't say that that you take nothing because then you do. And I do that out of principle, not out of not needing it because I'm like everybody else. Everybody needs money, but I don't take it out of principle, and the reason I don't is because I will never be swayed by another opinion based on money. So I told him I don't want any money, but I would really enjoy coming on your program and having you prove. And here's the thing: he started out his conversation with, those people looking at the equilux and the equinox, they're all crazy. It's the full moon and the sliver moon, and I'm like, and then he offers a challenge. I'll be fair. You just started your program out not being fair. You just started out stating that your way was the right way, or the rest of the ways are the highway. So it's not going to work out. So I have a feeling that he is stuck in what he believes, and no matter how much evidence I bring him, contrary to what he believes, it would not be enough to convince him. But what happens as he and I discuss this as Christians, kindly, uh, intelligently, congenially, what happens? We all get into our Bibles and we all start searching and we all form our own opinions. And the comment should be, "Wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Thank you, for that. For that. No, I disagree. I think it's this, and I disagree with both of you. And here's why." And that's kind of what that's the kind of that's the kind of world I want to live in. That's not always the world we do live in, but at any rate. Let me get off of here. I could talk all night about this. High watch days, not rapture days. Could happen though. The day Moses throws down the tablets, July 16th. The day the temple was taken away from the Jews many times in the past, July 24th, which I think is also Barry's Feast of New Wine, quite possibly. I've done the math on the fields, the planting, and the time it takes, and I believe that new wine is around the 24th of July or the 31st of July. Is it the 30th? Whichever is a Sunday in 2022, I don't recall. Uh, and then Tisha B'Av, Tu B'Av, I'm sorry, Tu B'Av being the day that I believe the women dance out in the field. I think that's what Spinebreaker was finding, and that also might be the Feast of New Wine as well. So 16th, 24th, 31st. I watch days. Not saying it's the rapture. Save your comments. Stop calling me silly. I think your comments are silly. So Kevin will go in there, smile. See, I won't delete them. I don't care what you say. But Kevin will go in there and delete you and ban you and all kinds of stuff because while he doesn't agree with my timeline wholeheartedly, I don't want him to. I want the challenge. I like the challenge. I want the discussion over, hey, what do you think? And he brings me verses. What about this? And then I explain as I understand it. He explains as he understands it, and he has what he believes. But what's happening is we're studying the Word of God, and we are getting more intimate with our Creator, and that is the point of all of this. So anyway, let me get off here. Repo Man 64. I think I said everything. Go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody. Accept the Lord into your heart. Take that cup. It's being offered to you. There will be no, oh, I didn't know. There won't be any of that. It's going to be a clear choice, like Moses. That's a big bug. Like Moses, it's a June bug. Is this June? It's July. You're late, or you're early. Yeah, you're late, buddy. Um, I lost track of what I was saying. June bug just messed me all up. um, it's a cup. The cup is offered to you. You have a clear choice, just like Moses, and he gave those people a clear. You're going to follow the calf. You're going to follow God. I guess I'm following the calf. What? What? They made a clear choice, and what happened? Their bellies swelled up. That's how they identified who worshipped or decided to follow the calf, and they were run through. So, all right, Repo Man 64. Let me get off here.